knocking on wood that we keep it up. We're already getting set here for game number 3, and the stakes could not be higher. Both Fun Plus Phoenix and BLG.J 0-1 in their first 2 matches. And with the grueling schedule of this Demacia Cup gauntlet, 0-2 means pack your bags.
And you got to think about also, for BLG.J, they're just coming off a loss. At least FPX, they got to chill for like 23 minutes. They're saying, okay, we get to watch the next game, kind of maybe start to think about our strategy. But 27 minutes is that, plus whatever break. So maybe about 30. We'll say 32, the number I went with originally. They got about a half an hour of a break in between their games. So for BLG.J, they got to immediately bounce back, move into this next game, and be ready. Because FPX, I think, is a team that definitely does not want to have to deal with the fact that, hey, we lost to EDG. Sure, that happens. It's a fellow LPL team. We'll be seeing them in the regular season. But to an LDL team, they don't want to take that. You want to be the, show like, hey, we are not only deserving of our spot here in the LPL, but we're going to show that the players that we have are kind of up to snuff. And they do have some LDL imports here, or I guess implants from FPX's side. So should be fun to kind of see them kind of battling out some of their teammates.
We're still doing some star searching around here as well, Alk. I think we identified Climber pretty well. A little less shiny with the Skarner tax that you like to give over, but still waiting for that big sheer moment. The Rumble had its pretty good fights, couple equalizers, but we know Sheer is that aggressive top laner that wants to play for those lane wins. I'd like to see FPX lean into that up against BLG.J, but BLG, are we not learning our lessons? We just leave Skarner up again and just think Sorrow's not going to take it?
They just think they have the answer to it, and so BLG.J going ahead and seeming like they're going to be hovering the Rumble. I wonder, with this pick, don't think they're going to be going for the Lilia immediately. Said taking the Varus here, something that bot did very well in their game despite the loss. I'm looking towards for FPX, not only maybe a counter in the bottom lane, again with Ashe gone, with Varus gone as well. I wonder if they're going to be looking for someone with a little bit of range. Again, Jhin is still up and available, but
lock it.
Boy, we're getting an Ambessa
Let's
game.
go. We get a sheer Ambessa game. Come on, Alk. I mean, that's what we came here to see.
Into Rumble, okay, look, so when they nerfed the Emax build, the fact that this champion had 1 million shields, an incredible amount of dashes, she went from like a 52% win rate to 48%, rightfully so for a release champion, but into the Rumble matchup can be a little bit difficult, obviously, with how much mobility and I think some of the damage that this champion can bring. Rumble can be a bit tough later on to kind of, for Rumble, it's going to be a bit tough, I will say, for Ambessa. She's just going to kind of outrun him and then knock him up. He can't really do much after that, especially he has a hard time with champions that jump on top of him. So I want to see what we get from LQH and Sheer here, especially for Sheer, who on the Rumble I think had a pretty interesting job, and unfortunately the team just didn't quite put it all together.
I'm excited to see my new coined wombo combo called the Shockwave Execution. I hope we'll see it this time around. The Ambessa ball delivery system. I mean, it's a blink, man. Like you hit like somebody.
That sounds like the way that ability interaction sounds like it's gonna work is like almost in my mind like a reverse Yasuo ultimate. Like
yeah,
the Yasuo goes in first and then we get the ultimate, the Ambessa this time around. We're in second phase of draft, however. They've got themselves our mid lane matchup. Orianna can be a bit of a lane bully versus Azir, but Azir's range is difficult to deal with, and anytime there's no flash in mid lane, you always have to be afraid of a sweep. And we're looking at the bans coming in. I like the Jhin ban already, like we were saying, maybe taking that away from bots and maybe more range, or I think an engage support here would be a really good takeaway from BLG.J.
What are we looking for on the FPX takeaways, though? The Viego's already taken away. You try to take away more of those junglers, or maybe an engage tool for BLG? Well, just targeting Loyiu, just taking away the Xin Zhao and the Viego.
Saying maybe you're probably going to have to play another AD jungler that's a little bit lower on the priority list. If he wants to go for Haya, he can pick up Darius jungle, although that got 0 wins yesterday into the starter.
Got Wukong?
Could go for Wukong. Yeah, Wukong is still a perfectly fine matchup. So unless they're setting up for a very specific matchup from a bottom lane perspective, I think you're perfectly fine for what you got for BLG.J. You have a winning topside matchup early. I think with jungle attention, there's a potential here for Sheer to actually fall quite far behind. And we'll see what the pick here is for Jue. There's not a ton of engaged sports. Still, I think Nautilus would do great here. You still have access to Braum.
I like the Israel lock-in, though. I think Israel does best when you put him behind a playmaking frontliner. And you have the Ambessa, right? The Skarner and the Ambessa are going to be up there causing all this chaos. And the Israel can kind of just sit back, fire those Mystic shots over and over again. And this is a good comp to front to back against, right? We don't have a true tank at all yet composed on the side of BLG Jr. There's a couple options here for Jue as well compared to the Ezreal. You had the tanky engaged, but they're going to lean lane dominant, the classic Ezreal karma.
Ooh, and immediately the slam coming in from BLG.
Yeah.
R5 Nautilus, ladies and gentlemen. We have made it to the new year.
Yes.
It's 2024, but it's looking quite new already. What an insane draft coming in from BLG. I think it's very classically a great team fight. You have a lot of great setup. I think with Nautilus, this is a much better way of setting up your fight versus a Rel. And now you have, with that, the Wukong to set up for the Rumble to even help Xiao Rui on this Varus. I think very classically a great front to back. For FPX, I want to see how squishy this team is, because what's going to happen in a lot of fights is if they cannot actually get on or maybe stop some of this engagement from the enemy team, you gotta kind of just send it. Ezreal Karma have to do a lot of work here, and Ambessa on a flank can be very disruptive, but is not a champion that has access to a lot of shields or a lot of HP, so you have to be very careful and choose your moments very carefully. I think this is a high-level execution composition coming in from FPX and can actually bite them if they don't do well.
It's intriguing because I feel like Sorrow in this FPX comp needs to play Skarner the way we just watched Climber play, with the way you're kind of describing it. And you talked about how Climber was playing that Skarner so unique. So really fun to compare, especially when we talk about, once again, we're looking for stars. We got the youth here in Group A. We're looking for some of those stars, alongside performances like we just saw from Climber and Angel's performance as well in the game 1 from EDG.
FPX, they've got to win it all. I like the strategy, however. Like, if you think that you're just better than your opponent, you can go for the strategy. Bot lane is going to be a big focus. We saw bot in that last game not able to win it. We saw some really aggressive moments. And if I thought a Varus flash forward was going to be maybe tough to watch as an AD carry player, we've got Ezreal shifting forward now. We've gone one step forward.
Flash.
We've got 2 flashes now. Wow, I can't believe your mom lets you have 2 flashes.
That's so cool. Hopefully he doesn't squander them.
If he uses it forward and he gets a kill and he pops off, everything he did wrong doesn't matter anymore. He just looks like the GOAT at that point.
It's not the clip that you see on Twitter. I'll tell you, it's not. You see the Ezreal gameplay making, and don't get me started with that. You can start resetting your abilities if you arcane shift forward on Ezreal. As we head into game, the stakes as high as they could get for Group A so far. Both our two teams 0-1, 0-2, knocks you out of high-level LPL gameplay till 2025.
I want to double check just because of this format. For people who are maybe unfamiliar with the format here, there are 20 teams in total, 2 of them from the LDL, 2 of them from the Legend Cup, which is a bunch of streamers and former pros who ended up playing. And those teams actually get to qualify for this event. Might have to hold this as we get an extremely aggressive level 1 here, but bot does not land any damage. What I wanted to say is 16 teams play in these 4-team groups, and there are 4 teams that are already waiting in the knockout stage, in the bracket stage, where it's all best of 5s. So whoever wins this will actually have to end up playing. I just want to double check. They're going to be playing up against Weibo Gaming in a couple of days. So if you want your chance to be able to take on some more LPL teams, you really have to be able to win this one for both of these guys.
Integral. So we see some bot lane trading already coming across. Karma Ezreal, if they get control of that wave early, get to level 2 first, this is how just difficult it is to even fight back for the wave. Xiao Rui and the Hank, you're waiting, because there's no farm coming your way anytime soon.
Ooh, and look at where Sorrow is immediately. They're getting ready to go for a dive. Actually gets spotted. Xiao Rui walks up. He's like, oh, and there's a jungler on my side of the map. All right, so we're splitting immediately. Wukong has 2 options, invade or run towards his bottom side. Sorrow is spending a lot of time taking this Gromp here. Loye could find something in mid, but I mean,
There.
YXL does not have any damage, and you have to imagine
right here.
straight into Skarner.
Well, you a bit perceptive to understand that.
Oh, his game is over, by the way. Where does he farm?
Oh.
He has no
Oh yeah,
bottom
he got his
camps.
invade cut off.
He had all 3 camps gone, so he has to cross immediately into the opposite side and pray that Skarner is not there right now. And if he wants, I think this is going to be a really big win here for BLG Jr. Oh my god, Jway. Wukong could run straight here. He should just skip camps, look to try to protect his bottom lane on the crash, and potentially get them some relief from this lane.
Playing for the camps instead. Looking to knock down the red buff. We'll see if he takes the red buff and heads towards that bot side. There is no vision. Jway and bot would be in such a critical juncture. They have to at least bend both their flashes, but they get the wave in and they'll take their clean reset, not knowing what disaster may have struck if they'd sticked around.
They're going to take their reset as well. Oh my god, this is so dangerous right now. I really would have wanted to see this Wukong skip camps, and yes, you are in a bad spot, but as is right now, I mean, Sorrow gets so many camps, gets all of the bottom side from BLG Jr. He goes to his top side, takes his blue buff, gets the top side scuttle, still able to get his Raptors as well, then has his Wolves and Gromp. This is such a big play for them, as LQH is really bullying Sheer very early on. You kind of see he was trying to utilize some of the early mobility of this champion alongside the grass procs to sustain himself. He'll TP right back into this lane, and LQH should just be able to crash this wave, get it into the turret, and if he wants, he can use the TP. I think the big point of him here right now is I think you really want to try to continue to apply pressure onto Sheer now that he's missing one of those summoner spells.
So to expect that teleport to come through, just keep that pressure up and right on cue. LQH doesn't want to relinquish the small lead he's been able to build, because in a game with no kills, those are what count.
Kills are very good. Kills usually end to winning games, although that is not always the case.
Not always.
Not always, but sometimes. 50% of the time, all the time. Let's use that line of measurement. So
that sounds like play-by-play math right there. I like it.
There you go. Always do math on stream. I think that's the saying. Anyway, Sorrow is up on this top side. Did get spotted on this ward, and we're getting a bit of like, I don't want to say it's like half vertical jungling, because technically Skarner got all of the top side camps, then he went towards the bottom side of the map and kind of like got like 2 of his camps on the bottom side.
It sounds like a mess.
Yeah, he got the respawn Raptors, which is great. But for Lulu, he's really stuck as this Wukong. He's like, okay, well now what do I do? Like, my Raptors are gone. Can't go top lane here. And, yeah, I don't think we're going for a dive. This Wukong just has kind of nothing to do. And Sorrow, early on, doing a really good job of making sure that he's getting ahead. And it's also taking away resources from his opponent.
Game will get a lot more complex. Scrubs and Dragon going to be on the Rift at the same time. It's the Hank looking for an angle onto Care, who does have the flash available. In goes YXL, throws him to the Wolves. The Hank gets the lockdown and flash. Maybe not even need to be expended. Care does get back towards his team. Doesn't get the shockwave off. Mystic shot started to fly. In comes Sorrow from the side. The Hank flashes away to throw his mid laner down into the fire of bots. So first blood, BLG Jr., but cleaned back up by FPX on the backside.
They get the flash out from YXL. That's a massive win for FPX, and if they can stop this start of the Grubs, oh, it's 2 Grubs going over to Loliu, so good job coming out from the BLG Junior jungler.
I think Red Buff Burn actually got that, because got smited down to 30. So that's a big win, because now you can play for that might count more likely than Sorrow will be, so big steal.
For FPX, it's going to mean a full set of Grubs on the next rotation if they want those mites. Let's get a look at this replay here. So YXL moves forward. He gets the ult, which honestly, that's a pretty big reach for that to land. Great shielding coming out from Jway means that they kind of stall out a little bit here, but because there's no flash from YXL, they're not able to find that play, and the Hank gets out, but it's his mid laner losing out on that entire mid wave. So kind of sucks for him on the Azir, but I don't think he's worrying all that much after getting the assist.
Care, all I see, Care was halfway through that shockwave channel as well, so who knows what it looks like if he grabs the Hank earlier. The Hank, no fear, wants to keep playing for this mid lane. We've rotated the bot lanes over somewhat. Bot is getting free time on those bot side minions, grabbing that solo XP, and Xiaorui will head back down. Maybe BLG Jr. wanting to show some pressure, trying to play for this first dragon.
After this game, you don't have to worry about it, but I will have to. We need to find a different way to talk about bot being in that lane, because it's not looking good for us. It sounds so similar. Bot in the bot lane. Oh, wait a minute.
It could be like a rap bar, you know? Bot in the bot lane. I'm not about to start spitting on.
Look, the karaoke, considering we're both Jack Harlow fans, I don't think we should be talking about rap right now. I think we're barking up the qualification.
Hey man, he's
in a different lane right now. He's in a different lane. They've got the dragon here for FPX. Let's see if BLG can actually go for the contest. Sheer is in such a tough spot versus this Rumble.
Warded dragon, in goes Yoiyu, able to get a good cycle, and the Impale comes across from Sorrow, grabs 3, but he actually gets thrown into BLJ Jr.'s bot is far too low to continue fighting. What a Shuriman shuffle from YXL, who was tired of the Azir on the other end of his matchup, running him wild.
There you go, finds the engage, maybe took a couple of notes from that last game, and great team fight coming in for BLG Jr. Opens up the dragon for them as well. They're winning on the top side of the map. We've got Krubs spawning in a minute and a half, so they're going to have those ultimates back and up. Take a look at this team fight here. Great vision denial, I will say, coming out from Jue, but they just don't have a lot of engage. I don't think that they did enough with this bottom lane advantage. When you have a Karma and an Ezreal, you're looking to try to poke out your opponents, make sure that they're weaker than you coming into dragon fights, and that just wasn't the case. Varus, such a robust champion, and look at how much they're down. Yes, this Ezreal has 2 kills, but I'm barely down 600 gold. I'm only down like 8 CS, so basically a minion wave. They haven't destroyed our turret. They've only gotten a single play. I will consider this a pretty big win for BLG Jr.
I'm not realizing all too, we do have that lethality base Varus coming through compared to bots on hit Varus. Were you expecting that, and how does it fit a bit more into how BLJ Jr. scale up in this one?
So for the part of the game that is basically going to be Xiaorui hoping that he never gets hit by Skarner, which, hey, he has a Nautilus and a Wukong who can help with the peel. I think it's perfectly fine. One of the ways you can get around Ezreal is just outrange him. Typically, that means you have to play weird champions like Caitlyn, or you can try to play champions that can kind of ignore the minion wave. So great job from Xiaorui recognizing that one of the ways you get around not only Ezreal, but also this Orianna, even Mbessa without her tank build, is going to be to just outrange them. So great job from him. He's going to have a lot of utility in this game, not only with his ultimate, but with how much damage he's going to be able to apply.
Oh, Loiyu going for it all onto Bot, who flashes back with a depth charge, follows. Bot is down. They get the Impale from Sorrow, able to trade 80 carry for 80 carry, but the public execution has been ordered by FPX, and with the slows, Loiyu's going to fall in the hay, cast a watch as his team crumbles. He gets the dredge line, though, and with the help of the turret, is actually able to trade out Sheer. Here comes LQH, maybe looking to clean up, has the equalizer, has the flash, with the Karma speed ups. We'll get Fun Plus Phoenix out.
Oh man, there was just some miscommunication coming in from Fun Plus. They thought, okay, she was like, guys, we can keep going for the kill, and then Joy's like, actually, I don't want to take any more turret shots here. So let's take a look back at this fight. Great find to start here from BLG, but I think a lot used for not a ton gained. Yes, you got this pick onto bots, but I mean, none of the other spells, it's not like your Varus ultimate is spreading onto the Mbessa, onto this Skarner. It was onto a single target, and now they've lost multiple flashes from some of their carries. They lost a lot of those kills, and now we're moving in. It's going to be 3 grubs here for BLG Jr. Can they get one more for the grubs? And it is, they got the mites now.
Got the mites.
Oh,
Don't
he messed
really
up
worry
the
about
W.
the fifth one. He's not over the wall. Well, he's dead. He doesn't have flash. He just burned it. Is he going to get the grub? He does at least get the grub. Consolation prize, but small mistake gives Bot more gold.
All right, well, you know, I would let my jungler go down if that means I can get 5 grubs. So I want to thank Liu for his service in making sure that we have Void Mites. And as long as they can hit turrets, this is going to be a really great boon for them. But so far, we've kind of seen FPX really control the map in a lot of instances. And I think BLG Jr. be a bit too rash with some of their decision-making when it comes to finding fights.
Young team, looking to prove themselves. Not too surprising, as maybe we're starting to see this Mbessa Rumble matchup start to sway in Sheer's favor. Get some solid damage down with that Eclipse done.
Eclipse is great. I'm kind of sad that they changed this item. As someone who off-rolls to top lane, I love playing a lot of Jace, and this Eclipse item still a rush on that champion, but definitely a little bit different nowadays. Great job from by canceling the recall. This does mean that they will have a bit of a timer here on the side of FPX to move on in. LQH trying to find something.
Flash away, not going to be enough. LQH solo bolo time, and Bessa ain't squat here in the Demacia Cup.
That was pretty dry, wasn't it? Like, I feel like Sheer really opted into that fight, and LQH punishes 6 grubs. Those are plates going down. We still got 30 seconds before plates are going to be disappearing. And now LQH can just recall after this, spend his gold, move on over. I mean, to be honest, maybe he doesn't. He doesn't have ultimate anymore. There's no equalizer. I don't think it's a play. It looks like FPX is going to try to make a turn.
Aro takes the free impale onto the Hank, has the damage dealers behind him. Gifted kill over to Sorrow. 1 impale, 1 kill.
Okay, start up the dragon now here for FPX. You already have kind of come to the decision. Yes, we've lost our top lane. Sheer ended up going down, so instead trying to apply a lot of pressure, maybe thinking they can try to maybe leverage some of those grubs, but instead wasting a lot of time here, making sure that they're in position for this dragon. LQH taking his recall, so Sheer gets finally some alone time on the mid wave, doesn't have to be worried about getting pressed here. For BLG, I think we just need to drop this dragon and look towards the Rift Herald. We have 5 grubs. We already got the first dragon. I think that this is an objective that's going to be really, really cumbersome if they lose this fight.
They're stepping up. Dragon's already gone, though.
Shockwave.
Shockwave does a ton of value, but Jue is hit by the dredge line. Split fight on both sides. Ultimate's being dropped by the junglers. With the health bar gone for Sorrow. Bot commits the arcane shift forward. Does have to flash out. Jue kept safe by the public execution from Seer. In goes Loiyu. Does not find a low health target. Tough spot to back up, but FPX, they do grab that dragon for 1. Unless YXL is looking for that Azir angle. Just going to spot out the recalls.
You know, I will say, I do love this about Bot. You know, he has some great team fights. We saw it in the Varus in the first game versus EDG, but he's not afraid to go forward. Sometimes that bites him, but there are a lot of players who may not even attempt to go for that play in the first place. So I think I can respect the hustle there. As we get a replay of probably my worst nightmare, which is Sheer getting solo killed by an LDL player. Not what I wanted to see. Again, a pretty new player, especially when we talk about kind of just coming straight from solo queue. And this is the team fight that kind of won. That was a pretty big win here for BLG. They got the dragon. Really great sweep coming in from YXL. There's Bot doing his kind of thing. An amazing escape. And I will say Sheer, 2 games in a row, has constantly played the task of saving his teammates and then being able to peel for himself. We saw it in the Rumble game as well.
And look at that player gold, LQH. Living it up at the top of that, but Bot with a ton of kills behind him. Not too far behind. Stacking up that tier. Ezreal's big first power spike is always that more mana. Wow, Loiyu thought he could get away with a great escape there with the Herald, but it will fall into the hands of FPX.
That's I think this is a pretty big win for FPX. They've now taken away the Grubs team from having access to the Rift Herald. They are now also going to grab the mid-tier one. So what this means for FPX, hopefully, is that they'll be able to use this to constantly push out this mid-wave, move in, and get vision around this Raptor pit, and play around the Dragon spawning in 3 minutes. It makes it also easier for them to potentially move into side lanes, get Care some more gold, even maybe protect Sheer so he can get back into the game just a little bit. He is starting to fall behind as we get further. Maybe on second item spike, we can see this Mbessa start to be a bit more of a menace in the team fights.
Saw how integral mid lane Prio was in the last Fun Plus Phoenix game. Didn't really have control of those mid lane turrets. Oh boy, Sheer. Once again jumped on by LQH. Has the equalizer if he wants it. Public execution does not get him out. Instead brings him back even closer to LQH. There's the equalizer. No flash for Sheer. It's deja vu this time towards the bot side. LQH smites down Sheer.
Cheer. I want you to do so well. I mean, like, it's a great cancel from LQH. He gets right in the middle of the public execution. He's zero threat. He's like, oh, this guy does no damage to me. So it's going to be those 5 grubs again, taking another turret, and the rest of BLG.J putting some pressure on this side of the map. They're starting to move members over. Do they try to make this dive onto Care? During all of this, YXL now, because of that teleport away from this top lane, could end up actually pushing another wave here, but maybe afraid as they don't have a ton of vision. Jway just made the escape of a lifetime. Okay, we're getting a fight.
Behind. Cyclone, Jway has to flash away. There's the second bout of YXL. He didn't want the split push all. He wants the kills. Jway has to pay for his transgressions, and now that bot lane tier 1 turret should fall without a dive needed.
Within the last minute, I think FPX have completely ruined their map state right now. With Mbessa going down, and then they invested the TP from Care. Now with Jway going down, they've lost access to their mid wave. We've seen that top wave. They've had to send Sheer. They still lose the bottom tier 1. So BLG.J doing a great job of finding fights and winning them. I think it's up to FPX to not really opt into some of these trades. You should be looking to kind of get gold where you can, play away from some of the stronger members here. Now we're going into this replay. This is just painful. Please, you know, it was fun when it was players that I didn't necessarily super want to fanboy for. Look, Climber's great and all, but I didn't get to. I haven't watched Climber I've watched Sheer in the last year. So, man.
Sheer. You got Alk out here shearing tears for you. Tears for fears, maybe actually.
You know, that joke is probably funny if it isn't Sheer. I'd laugh at that if it wasn't for my boy.
You know what? That's a win for me. That means people who aren't too sad about Sheer are laughing.
People who are not biased towards Sheer probably found that at least 2% funny. I'm okay with that.
2% funny. And then I got the old people with the Tears for Fears reference.
I think they might be in bed. It is 2 a.m. for those people. If they're on the West Coast. Maybe for our East Coast friends who are up a little bit early. We've got an ARAM here sitting in position. Dragon
another flank.
LQH.
Oh my gosh, YXL just leveled Care. Didn't even have a chance in the world. Sorrow only able to escape thanks to the transversing of the terrain. But BLG.J were angry after that loss to LGD, and they're taking it out on Fun Plus Phoenix.
Okay, so FPX have 2 options. Invest into the top side, get some vision, maybe even set up for stopping a Baron in the future, or cut this wave high in mid lane and try to assault this mid tier 2. As I was thinking, okay, that was a lot of ultimates used. That was almost every single ultimate except Leo used. So maybe there was in my mind, they could potentially look to turn around the Dragon, but that was a really quick kill onto Karen. That was what we were talking about in the draft. When you're playing this Orianna matchup, even pre-6 or during the laning phase, once he hits level 6, you can immediately find a kill if your jungler there, if you can maybe bring your support on over, and they immediately execute onto Karen. That was so many ults. They get that kill, opens them up for a Dragon. There's not really a soul, at least for the next 9 minutes in the game, so I think for BLG, it's just gold temporarily just to buy them a little bit of time here.
It's just so hard for Fun Plus Phoenix to really deal with the Azir damages online, and LQH is just so far accelerated. You have to worry about where this Rumble is on these flanks, where the equalizer looks, and maybe just picking up side lanes if you're Care, because you blink and you've got Loyiyu right on top of you. That teleport was a bit too late. Sheer shows up to the party without any friends. He's surrounded by the enemy. Making a bit of a fight here with Jway and Sorrow finally showing up. They're able to get the slam into the wall, and down goes Loyiyu, impaled down onto YXL, gets the stream and shuffle onto 2, and YXL wants all the smoke, and he's got the teammates to back him up. Where did that true shot barrage come from? Because Bot's able to rescue a kill back for FPX, but the fight continues. LQH on the flank finds Bot, knocks him down, gets the slow onto Jway, piercing arrow, able to get enough damage with the flame spinner. It's a double to LQH as he goes juggernaut in this game.
Big fight coming in from our Skarner. We get a lot from FPX. It looked great there to start, and on the back end, Bot, he finds that kill. YXL with a huge sweep onto him. I mean, there was a lot used in that fight, and we get to take a look at this replay. Great job from YXL, and we have gotten some really great games so far from this mid jungle. They weren't able to win that last one versus LGD, but I mean, Sheer finally having a team fight where it feels like his presence is felt. Bot making an escape during all of that, and wow, I can't believe this is literally the culmination of 2 fights eventually making their way down to this bottom lane.
Yeah, I didn't even realize we were using Equalizer to catch Bot off. He gets this true shot barrage as he's being chased by LQH. That's just Bot things for you.
He almost finds his kill into LQH as well, by the way. So he flashes away, is able to almost find it. He goes down to the I think a few more combos, or maybe if J has a little bit more gold, maybe didn't necessarily opt into first item Mikhail's. There are a lot of options here, but unfortunately not able to find that. It's a lot of could-haves, maybes, and never will be's at this point. 24.5 minutes is Sorrow having to use the flash to get away from him. Scared of the Hank and Xiaorui walking up with ultimates. Could have been them starting up the Baron if they were to find that pick.
Gives control over to the Baron pit, though, at the very least for BLG Jr. Care going to get that tier 1 back on the bot side. If Care's going to stick around here, they have the top wave in their power. They just use that scrying orb or that boosted up Chemtech plant to spot. There's really no vision towards that Baron side in favor of FPX, but they'll take the resets, set it back towards the bot jungle.
Okay, FPX now need to be able to buy time. I think they're on a really big spike here. 2 items for Mbessa, 2 items for Care, and for bot. If you're not able to win fights at this moment, I think any other point in this game is only going to get harder. And you look across from them, BLG are on very similar, if not ahead of those spikes right now. YXL on double, you have Xiaorui already finishing the Edge of Night as well, so he's particularly difficult to land any abilities on, at least the first time around. This is only going to get rougher. We might see FPX try to pull off a sneak Baron in a few minutes time, as this game doesn't get any easier for them. And again, it's those side lanes, 5 grubs. Anytime that they're on a side lane, you always have to be able to match BLG Jr.
What Shear's doing, setting a trap maybe, likes his odds into YXL. While the rest of the 2 squads step towards the Baron pit, there's the Hank, dropping Jue, who has to flash into the Baron pit. Teleport's being channeled to Sorrow, has to run his way out. Xiaorui on the side has that Chains of Corruption, forces bot to pull a really good arcane shift away. Flash as well being expended by Loyiyu. So FPX, the stall game's working.
Yeah, I will say they got the teleport out from YXL. I think you're fine with that as FPX, especially. It's fine. It's fine. The Orion ult will come back.
Oh.
Care. I would do the same. Care, I would just let you know, I do the exact same. How does my shockwave not land on that guy?
Yeah,
so,
is this like a... This is like an ego preserve pause, right?
TO, ref. Mod check. I'm just sitting there like, where's my... Yeah, again, for a team that is behind, FPX need every little bit that they can get. Any small amount of respite is perfectly fine for them. I think the TP out, we're talking about how the game changes when you have these grubs. Once you have 4, 5, 6 mites, you're in a spot where anytime you're on a side lane, enemy team has to match you. And when you, as that team, TP to a play and you're not able to get much, that is basically 4 minutes. We're on a side lane. If you make a play as FPX, that team member is not going to be able to match. So you need to very quickly push out, go back over to wherever you're going to find the fight, and then you can maybe look for something. So I like the idea of it. Great job from FPX to execute. You don't lose all that much. Yes, it's Jue summoner spells, but at this point, it's karma. You got to take what you can get.
Exactly, and it's important to remind anybody that's tuning in a bit late here and jumping into this game, the stakes of this one, both FPX and BLG Juniors are 0-1, and with the gauntlet of these Demacia Cup groups, 0-2, you're done. So make sure to keep that in mind as we see each of these plays come out, because we already had one LPL staple org topple yesterday. FPX and EDG, you gotta think they have that in the back of their minds as they go through these slates.
Exactly. Like you were saying, whoever loses this one, no longer going to be able to play for making it to the bracket stage. They will obviously play one more game, as like you were saying, already in their second game here. But especially for FPX, they're an organization that hasn't really been able to find success in the past couple years. They've had a roster that has been kind of more on the budget end, not really able to kind of poke over maybe a top 8 at the most for this team. They really overperformed, I think, this year with the addition of Milky Way in spring. So we're kind of looking for this team to, as the LPL representative in this matchup, kind of take it to BLG Jr. And BLG Jr. are keeping the pace. They're winning in a lot of their solo lanes. And while their team composition, you take the nameplates off, I think it's very robust. They need to be able to close out. And so far, I think they showed some of that in the LGD series. And for right now, they are looking really primed to take this game as well.
It's so hard to just deal with LQH being so far ahead on this rumble in one side lane, and then YXL on the other with those grubs. Especially if you get up this Baron, if FPX, lose a fight, trade this Baron for something else, I wouldn't expect that on the map. But the 1-3-1 or the 4-1 split with this Rumble and Azir is just terrifying with those mites. It's exactly what BLG Jr. had to stare down last game up against LGD.
Well, we'll see. I want to see if BLG Jr. can kind of close it out. They had a lot of okay moments in their series versus LGD just before this, and they're immediately on the Dragon. Even if FPX decide right now they can start the Baron, it'll already be 10 seconds too late. They're going to grab themselves a tier 1 in trade, and BLG Jr. put themselves up on soul point here at 25.5 minutes.
Now they can just wrangle control that mid wave once more. FPX really leaning on the crutch of having their mid-tier 1 turret up. Gotta maybe be a focus here for BLG Jr. It really helps FPX just sort of ground them, able to playing for those waves, allows them to get that vision. And you can see some of those forward wards they're allotting themselves. They really stall out setup at all for BLG Jr. towards this top side.
I want to see FPX play with a little bit more, I guess the word is like confidence, and maybe with the idea that this game is starting to slip away from them. Yes, they have a pretty okay lead, but I mean, it's not big for BLG by any manner, but 5 grubs, soul point, and another Orianna game here for Care, where I don't necessarily think he's had the most impact. We've seen a lot of instances where I think on a side lane he hasn't been able to kind of apply the same pressure in team fights. Those ultimates are kind of hit or miss for the most part. So if there's ever a moment for FPX to kind of rally behind some of their members and kind of have to put it together, it has to be now if they want any chance of staying in Demacia Cup this group stage.
A lot of ways to really max the use of Care's Shockwave here with the Skarner. And I'm still preaching for it. The Shockwave execution combo. I just want to see it once.
Hopefully.
Or reverse Yasuo. That was pretty funny way.
Because the way I'm thinking about it is like, okay, so for your execution of this, are you saying that Sheer goes first and delivers the ball, or is it Care ultimate, the Orianna ultimate into the Mbessa?
See, that's what we're here to discover, right? Is can you get away with get away with the Orianna cast first, with it being a blink? I mean, the easier way is definitely what you're saying, the reverse Yasuo.
Yeah, you can just send Mbessa in, and as soon as she's on her target, that's the ult, that's the kill. I will say, it is difficult. Jarua sitting here with the Edge of Night means the public execution will not land onto him as long as he is away from the lowest HP target in the line that Mbessa casts. Level 16 here for Care, and we're looking across from them. LQH close to level 16. YXL close to level, he's about half a level away, so probably another minute or two before he gets that, especially in a solo lane here. We're going to have level 16 ultimates coming in here for BLG.J, and if they can fight on this wave, or on the next couple waves, there's a potential that they win a massive team fight, and there's not much that FPX can do. I mean, Sheer's only just now cresting over to 15.
One ward getting a lot of value for FPX. Up towards that Baron pit, over the wall, able to spot how Sorrow, Jue want to set up around this. Finally, they're able to get some advancing wards, but this is the battle before the storm being waged, just clearing out this vision. The real difference maker when playing for this Baron on top of those side waves that has steadily been in FPX's control.
Ooh, here it is, level 16 for our solo laners. I think BLG.J right now need to be able to find a fight. Maybe start it around the Baron. A minute and a half before Dragon. I think that's it. Slayer, I think we're going to get our fight that kind of decides the game. Even if BLG.J actually do win this fight, it's probably going to be the Dragon, then they have to go to Baron, or they just decide to push on one of these lanes, and they still have so many structures to deal with. So even after, if this BLG.J team is able to grab the soul, they're not going to be able to end the game outright. It's still going to probably be another 10 minutes afterwards. And FPX, they have so much time in between now and then to kind of come back into this one. Again, they have such an easy combination with Sorrow, with Karen, and Sheer, so we need to see the top side of this map. Piece it all together, otherwise we're going to see an early bow out.
Back to fighting for this mid lane wave control. Azir turret trying to pay homage to its fallen true turret. Gets paid by YXL. FPX really trying to push these waves up. Bot playing on the front line. ever present. Got to be worried about those dredge lines. And oh, what an arcane shift. He dodges YXL's Shuriman shuffle. And on the backside, the shockwave knocks YXL low. Bot is still on the retreat, but he's able to stay up and strong. And here comes Sheer teleporting in. Zhao Rui knocks down Soro. And Sheer is just not tanky enough to really continue that fight. So despite Bot's heroics, BLG.J walk away with the lone kill.
But are they going to be in position? The FPX actually get enough damage that BLG.J don't feel comfortable walking in, and now we even got the Chemtech like rift. They're getting heals from this.
Bot wants to go back towards this dragon. So does LQH, but he's walking into treacherous territory. There's a big Mystic shot. Look how low Oyeyu is. It just feels like there's no way to safely contest this dragon unless they just gain control of the river, because FPX was worried about that mid wave. Now they're just trying to turn and burn it before FPX can figure this out. They're still clearing out vision. The dragon is below 3,000. There's not going to be a contest at all. It's too late. Chemtech stolen away by Oyeyu.
FPX look lost on the map right now. They weren't able to get this together. They can't contest on the wave. They only now push this in, but they still have access to it. Zhao Rui is just going to move in. There's no way we're forcing for this Baron, guys. We do no Baron damage with this team. And look at who's already back. They have Equalizer available. Instead, I really want to see FPX look for the turn.
Cyclone available in mere seconds for Oyeyu. Baron below half HP, still a ton of room to play with. Equalizer down the backside, and with the Emperor's Divide, it's a sweet as can be pick. Sheer and Jue drop, and now the Baron is immediately halted for FPX.
There we go. They wanted to make the turn. It was a Scryer's Bloom coming in, sweeps all of FPX alongside YXL and LQH. Great setup from the Hank, and that's going to turn into their Chemtech Soul. It's going to turn into BLG's Baron, unless Sorrow makes a massive steal.
Sorrow just walks in and walks out with the Baron. How does that happen? Sure, he'll pay his price with his life, but it's another huge stall for Funplugg's Phoenix.
Huge mistake coming in from BLG, just allowing the enemy jungler to walk in. You need your support Nautilus to kind of sit there and tank it up. We're going to get a replay of this. I kind of don't even care about the rest of this fight. It's great that they find this. I love, if you kind of look how they use the solo laners here, Jue gets burnt to a crisp. YXL actually flashes to find the two of them. And I want everybody to just watch where the Hank is. We're on the top side here. He's doing nothing to stop Sorrow. He needs to already have gone into this position too late here on the blast cone. He just walks in, steals it, no questions asked.
It's mind-boggling. We spent 7 or 8 minutes, especially the last 5 minutes, constantly resetting up for Baron, threatening no vision Baron takes. Finally starts, and Skarner just right-clicks, hits Smite, and steals it. How anticlimactic can you really get?
That's great. I mean, for FPX, it just means that they get 3 minutes of the game that they're not having to deal with this Baron buff. It gives them the ability to push, walk into Fog of War, and potentially look for a few more plays. With Chemtech Soul, it's great. I think the big thing for me is the healing and shielding power is not particularly useful on a lot of these champions. It's going to be that tenacity that might actually kind of come in handy for them. And while this is happening, in a minute and a half's time, with that Baron going down, that just means we're going to be 2 minutes away from an Elder Dragon. And Elder Dragon, the great equalizer, might be able to bring FPX back into this game if we kind of see another bit of heroics from Sorrow.
Big test for this youngster BLG Junior roster. How they navigate and respond to such a big marginal error. Great test for such a young team. So far, not lost too much on the map, just a mid-tier 2 turret, and they're able to stand up to this next siege on the bot side.
They're playing on 2 lanes. What I love to see right here, just go for both of these lanes. They're crashing at the same time. Kair's actually sitting in Fog of War right now, ready to push. Massive gold swing about to come in here for FPX, as they're just going to take turrets, take structures away, and continue to kind of bleed dry some of the resources on the bottom side of the map here. Get their bottom tier 2 as well. This should kind of catapult them back into this game.
And the item points for these Funplugg's Phoenix carries are really starting to become scary. This is a 4-item Bloodthirster in tote bot. classic bot at it again. I mean, this is the most aggro you can build Ezreal on the current patch, and he's building it that way. And by this point, you know, Zhao Rui does have the range you're talking about, but pure damage for damage, this is when Ezreal just blows by a lethality Varus.
Yeah, this is a point where, yes, he can. I will say still lethality Varus will be able to outrange him, but
Of course.
I think Bot has played this game really, really aggressively, and rightfully so. I think you need to be able to squeeze every little bit of an advantage you can in a game that is really important for them. And for FPX, we were talking about it during the pre-show, right before the games were starting. They only have brought back Care from the lineup from this last year, and Sorrow, another person coming in from the FPX Blaze LDL team. So they've brought in a lot of players that were in-house when we're talking about this team, but they really, I think, want to hopefully build around these two as kind of their franchise players coming into 2025.
You're going to have to show it here. As a reminder to everybody at home, 0-2 is inevitable for one of these two squads. Many expecting that to be the LDL representatives from BLG Juniors, but they've been able to put up a big fight, in control of a lot of this game, but as many late pushing games with the Dragon Soul off the table are marked by, Elder might just be our big decider here.
BLG.J, they have so many engages. I'm just wondering why, when certain members are a little too far up, why we're just not sending it. I think the Hank has kind of fallen. There's Lily has. I'm gonna find. Okay.
Let's go.
Here, he's able to fish it out, and he gets damage onto Hank. So that's your support no longer available. It's 15 seconds before this Elder Drake, and Hank, if he can't find some kind of the honey fruit, he's not gonna be able to heal in time. He really needs to be able to get forward and kind of deal damage. But that is super cheeky of you, by the way. You have no idea where Nautilus is, and you just E over the wall. I love you, man. You know what? All your sins are forgiven in my eyes. I love it. Ezreal players just willing to E forward for a little bit of more damage. We got the Elder Drake spawning here now. This is such a close part of the game here, Slayer. For everybody at home, FPX on the verge of potentially going 0-2, but if they can find a win on this objective, it can completely turn around the game, and they're the ones that have actually still taken more of the structures, despite BLG Jr. having 5 of the grubs.
Look at this setup from FPX, though. They're succeeding so much space around this Drake pit, allowing, kind of inviting a flank here from Loyiu on this Wukong. We saw a very influential Wukong from EDG, and both teams are terrified of old Greybeard.
Ooh,
there's the
nice.
first catch. Great Zanyas from YXL. Gets away from the shockwave. Impale gonna grab one. They're gonna try to burn through the Hank. He gets the depth charge off. In goes YXL way deep, but he doesn't find the mark. It's okay though, because his team cleans up from front to back. A flat forward from Loyiu finds another kill onto Care, and it's gonna have to be Bot. The big hero has all of the time in the world. The True Shot Barrage does not get the steal. Elder Baron onto 4 for the Juniors of BLG.
Oh, Bot wants to keep going for this. Maybe they try to push in on mid. They see where Hank and Zhao Ryu is. It's going to be Loyiu.
He's a maniac.
And he's going forward.
Oh, flashes over the dredge line. Bot's still trying to do it all on his own. Loyiu just has more than enough damage to blow through him. Elder buff to secure it. Bot only finds 1. Still 3 Elders are remaining for BLG.J.
I will say, maybe that's worth it. Okay, you still have the Elder Dragon on 3 members. It's not super important on the Nautilus, but getting that away from the big carry threats of BLG Jr., I think is very worthwhile here for FPX. As we see in this fight, I think a great job from Bot to apply pressure onto the backline members, and YXL just does not find, just flashes here and just whips the ultimate. So despite dodging out on Care's ultimate, he just says, hey look, I can one-up you on this one. Goes for it, and it's gonna be BLG.J still with the Elder Dragon. Still a massive kind of objective to take here. And with LQH, maybe this Rumble is enough to be able to carry them, but this game is getting a little too funky for my liking.
We're approaching 40 minutes. Death timers are well above, nearing a minute long. Puts even more pressure on one of these fights. In BLG.J, they know, all right, we still got the Elder on Rumble. We have to play as aggressive and confident as ever. And FPX, even with no Elder on two of the main carries, they don't want to risk it. They give up the free Baron.
Ooh, this is gonna hurt. I want to see BLG.J apply pressure onto the map here. I think going for the reset is nice, but I don't think you need to send all these members. You just need to have your two solo laners here with the Baron, push on this top wave, get some structures here. Instead, BLG.J play on the mid wave. If they can get this wave under the turret, it's going to be great. Again, 5 grubs, which they have not been able to use since they got it, by the way. They really want to try to make this push a reality, and hopefully for them, they can actually try to get more than kind of just one structure, because they are so heavily indexing on a single wave here.
Got YXL pushing the top side, but you called it out well, Alk. They need to use these grubs and Barons together. Equalizer down for LQH. Doesn't get a ton of value there. Just trying to maybe zone Care and company away, but that ultimate's going to be down for at least another 45-ish seconds.
YXL moves top lane, picks up a top tier 2, walks back into mid lane. They're going to be able to siege on this wave as well. Still 2 minutes on this Baron. It's a good influx of gold here for BLG, but Fun plus Phoenix, man, like, the gold's getting to a point where it just doesn't matter, right? Like, bot already has full items. Care is almost done with his Void Crystal, or the Blighting Jewel.
Yep.
And what that's going to turn into. So the damage dealing threats are here. We haven't seen Care link up with any of his teammates. Bot.
No. Oh my god, the damage to Xiao Rui on that piercing arrow was monstrous. And it felt inevitable with how aggressive bot wants to play, picked off for nothing.
When is the wave going to get here, though? Ooh, they're summoning the Azir turret, so they really want to get that. The aggression of bot coming to a head here, as now he's just so far up in mid. With him being taken down, BLG can very easily just walk on in, use their grubs, and start to assault the inhibitor line. It's going to be them cracking open the base. It only took them 20 minutes, but at this point, if you're BLG Juniors, you're taking every win you can get. It's 25 seconds before the Ezreal's alive, and they're going to try to look for an end.
Equalizer onto Care. Flash forward from LQH. He really wants Care, but he's got interrupted by Sheer. Into the stasis LQH goes. They're not going for the kills. They're just going for the Nexus. Upgrade BLG from the junior table to the top. They just knocked FPX out of the Demacia Cup.
And that's your 3rd place LDL team taking out FPX. We came into this thinking, okay, I think for rightfully so, we always expect that the LPL teams should be able to kind of maneuver the map, play a little bit better than their LDL counterparts, but FPX have seemed really lost in the mid game for a lot of their games so far, and now we're looking at an FPX who, they have one more game to play throughout, but they're not going to be able to make it to the knockout stage, and now BLG have an opportunity to make a run for it.
And if you're LGD, you're also happy, right? You just watched one of the LPL representatives go down 0-2. You're 1-0. It's seeming very likely that an LDL team can compete once again for a bracket spot.
Yeah. BLG, however, I will say, they are huge fans of LGD losing. As soon as LGD lose a game, then we can start to kind of see that kind of come on through. That'll be on the back end of our broadcast here as we get through the next 3 games. But yeah, a single win by LGD would not only knock out BLG, but potentially even stop EDG. And they are currently 1-0. We've the only teams with two games right now are FPX and BLG. BLG are big fans of EDG, which is the next match coming up after this. And I mean, just like yesterday, JDG were very slow to start. They were not a team that kind of found their footing very quickly in the matches, and while they did end up winning a game, it just wasn't quite enough for the guys on the squad. So hopefully for FPX, they don't take it too hard. Again, still have a game to play in about 2 hours time, and hopefully they're able to bounce back later and even still have a very strong showing in the LPL once we start.
It's always fun to play spoiler, but looking back on this game, I mean, it felt BLG Junior dominated, right? Outside of that Sorrow Baron steal, if that doesn't happen, I feel like this game is over a lot earlier than 42 minutes.
I mean, bot just tying mid is one of those reasons. You cannot be that far up by yourself and without flash, right? So you can say, yeah, I'll trade my summoner spell and I'll go down, but that right there turns into a pretty big mistake. And this is a roster where I think was maligned last year for some of the play through mid lane. The two carries for this team in Care and Bot are kind of having two different kind of mistakes. Bot's too aggressive, and I think Kara's not quite enough. He's not looking for the engagements. Him and Saro are not really linking up together, and I feel like Shear's getting left to the wayside. I always protect my brother. I love you, man. But BLG.J, they showed the execution. There were some moments that we were kind of looking like maybe this wasn't going to work, and they had another really solid composition for them to find team fights. We said this during the series versus LGD, and we see it again. Great setup in your two solo lanes. Your bottom lane has great push, and even in the jungle, great setup. I love what they're doing from the drafting from this team. It's very stock standard, but I think for a LDL team, you're really here to kind of show off some of the mechanics, and you're trying to train these players to be able to play on the big stage.
You can really see, even in these plays from the game, as we get that recap, just the exuding confidence. You can tell that BLG Jr., their staff, the players came in playing. I like how the way you described it all, taking away the nameplates, right? They're taking away the nameplates from their enemies, right? They don't care that this is Fun plus Phoenix, an LPL storied org. I hope to see them play the same confidence against EDG. You talked about that matchup coming up, and that's how you have to approach it as this young, up-and-coming, unknown roster. If you want to make waves in the Demacia Cup, we saw it yesterday. It's repeating itself again. It's becoming a trend in this Demacia Cup from these young, youthful, up-and-coming rosters.
And what did TT do yesterday that kind of upset a lot of games? It was their mid-jungle. Beishwan and Sitab had really great performances yesterday to lead that team to a 3-0 in their group. This time around, I think they kind of got outplayed by Climber playing Skarner, so, you take that what you will, but I really like that YXL, despite making some mistakes, is still looking for plays on this Azir and getting into the face of the opponents. It's about that agency.
Yeah, and Loyeu, who was on the back foot of that Climber Skarner, ever aggressive on this Wukong too. So at mid-jungle, really coming through. Got to sing the praises, though, as well of LQH. This Rumble was getting solo kills. You saw that clutch equalizer on the back end there as well. Just really impressive stuff from a roster that we came in today talking about. Not a lot of known about.
Exactly, and I love that. That is part of the Demacia Cup, right? Just having the two LDL representatives, allowing us to get those what-if scenarios of, what if we did have this team play up against an LPL team? What would that look like? You can see that here. So, big things for FPX. Again, this is obviously just the Demacia Cup, so they will have so much time to play during the year. But I will say, the new LPL format is incredibly unforgiving. If you do not win a couple of games, or you start going on a losing streak, you're done in June. You're not having fun at all.
Wow. I'm gonna need a flowchart lesson though on that LPL bracket, Alk. I mean, I got a bit of a headache looking at it. I can't lie.
All you need to know is you just need to. Well, the most easy one is just win. But
good start.
There's a lot of teams that will not play past June. You will just be done, and every series after that will be played against teams that are looking to qualify for Worlds. So tough luck for FPX. They have another game to play, and at the end of the day, this is just them trying to build a little bit of synergy in my mind. Similar to JDG yesterday, they need to find what works for them, and stage games are so much better than playing an infinite amount of scrims. So looking forward to what FPX and what my boy Sheer can do later on in the year, as BLG.J not quite yet locked for it, but now in the running for potential playing up against Weibo in the bracket stage.
And I'll come put you on the spot a little bit as we're still awaiting the official award. Who's player of the game? Who's your Pog?
I mean, just from consistency, being able to deal damage in terms of their stats from what we saw there, I think Xiaorui played a really fantastic game. Like, the MF game, I think a lot of the game kind of got out of hand very quickly, so as a misfortune, you don't have a ton of agency. But this time on the Varus, he was looking for ultimates. I think he landed, obviously, a lot of his spell shots as well. And
Yep.
I think he had a lot of great kind of, I guess, presence of mind playing on the Varus. He knew that he was one of the few targets that they were looking for, has the Edge of Night, and while YXL, I think YXL and LQH can, either of them can get the award for either individual laning coming from this Rumble, or YXL for finding so many great team fights. I think having a really consistent AD carry is going to make or break you winning even a big playoff series.
Okay, we've been neither of our pick. I was going to pick YXL. So
Okay.
LQH,
well,
though, certainly earned it. I mean, look at the stats alone.
He
right?
was insane this game. He was walking sheer for all of it.
Dog
And
walking. Sorry, brother.
he was pretty good. He has 30% of the damage share. I think his equalizers are great as well. So congratulations to LQH, and looking forward to what this BLG roster can do in the future.
We'll get to see the rest of them tonight as they do. They are available to contend for that bracket spot. This is, however, though, where I, much like FPX, will be bidding adieu to you all. It's been a blast getting to chop it up with Alk on these first 3 games. You've got the handsome Henrique 4x4 coming in next. We're going to throw it a break to get all that set up. And Game 4 of 6 from Group A, Day 2 Demacia Cup coming y'all's way.